It's your girl Bengali Black, and thank you so much for joining me on our first episode of Natural Typical Reviews, a show where I teach you how to buy black. So I want to first talk about what we ingest. And what we ingest into our bodies is important, but also what we ingest into our minds. You see, I've said it before, a revolution does not take place on the battlefield. It takes place in the mind. And if we want to start changing things, we have to first start ingesting positive images of our community and make that a real part of our daily mental diet. This is super important. So I really want to jump into the history of representation and why having representation in our community really matters. So without further ado, let's jump into some history, shall we? For centuries, we have been forced to ingest negative images of our community. Since we were stolen, we have served as a source of labor, property, and entertainment to our oppressors. In the 1800s, minstrel shows depicting our ancestors through the eyes of our white captors were a popular form of entertainment. For the average black person who isn't allowed to read plays or write scripts, this may have been the only form of black representation they ever saw. In the 1900s, new media platforms emerged, such as radio and television, and of course, black creators and performers were immediately excluded. But that doesn't mean there wasn't still black representation for the mass consumption, it just wasn't from our hands. The first black TV show was launched in the 50s, and it was called Andy and Amos. This show was created by two white minstrel performers who needed work and decided to build a platform by making a show parodying two black working class men. In the series, the men were depicted as goofy buffoons who were lazy and always scheming to get rich. The popularity of the show took off so much that CBS decided to bring the radio show to television with one small change: the characters had to be black. For the first time, black performers were sought out. Many black performers were from the vaudeville circuit, and they couldn't have been more thrilled to finally be included. Although the television ratings were high, it was all too clear that it wasn't the black consumer driving those numbers. Ultimately, the NAACP and other groups protested to have the show removed. So you see, representation is very important, but it's also equally important who's doing the representation. A lot of the times these corporations get to control our art way before we do, and they've been controlling our narrative for way too long. So today I want to review two streaming platforms that are dedicated to bringing you raw, unfiltered blackness. I'm talking about true black content. So you know what? I think it's finally time. Let's dive straight into those reviews. In order to implement black spending into our lives, we need to find products that are comparable to things we already use. So I'm rating these platforms in three categories: overall appearance, how it looks compared to similar products I already use; accessibility, how easily can I access the content; and variety, is there a lot to choose from? So first up, KweliTV. KweliTV is an innovative platform that allows you to discover and celebrate black stories from around the world. Through curated independent films, documentaries, web series, children's programming, news, and live events, KweliTV brings the diaspora straight to your doorstep. The cool thing about this platform is 90% of the films were selections in film festivals, and over 50% of them actually won. KweliTV was founded by Deshauna Spencer, who was flipping through her TV one night and got frustrated by the lack of black content. So she decided to personally source independent black films from around the world. So let's go on and jump into that review, okay? So at first, overall appearance. That's really important because we want to interact with something that we already are kind of familiar with. So logging on to KweliTV, the first thing I see is it's structured very similarly to streaming platforms that you're already familiar with, like Netflix, Hulu. I stream a lot of my content from these platforms, so having something that's comparable to that is super important to me. So I see as I scroll down, there's plenty of titles to choose from. They're all categorized in different genres. They have short films, feature films, comedies, dramas, just exactly what you would expect at Netflix. And also they have sci-fi, which is really cool because that's one of my favorite genres, and it's somewhere that we're really underrepresented. So that's very cool for me to have that. As far as accessibility, KweliTV is equally as accessible as any of the platforms you're already familiar with. So you can see that they have an Amazon Fire app, they have an Apple TV, they have Roku, they have Chromecast, they have an app for iPhones and for Android. So it's totally accessible to anybody. Whether you're here in the States with us, or in the Caribbean, or in Africa, or in Australia, you can access KweliTV. So this is something for really everyone. As far as variety, there's plenty of variety. As I said, there's different genres, there's different titles, there's hundreds of titles. And you can actually go follow them on IGTV to see new previews of new content coming out. There's so many options. Okay, so my final thoughts on this. When I first got KweliTV, when I downloaded the app, I really went into it with like these preconceived notions that I was going to be getting like some DSLR content or some like YouTube stuff, like money and violence, because as a film student, you know, when I went to film school, that's what I was familiar with. You know, some of them were really good, but some of them were really sus as well. I'm going to tell you that this content is equally, if not better, than some of the stuff I have seen on Netflix or Hulu. There's never been a time I've logged into a streaming platform and watched 3 different titles from 3 different creators and been like, wow, this is hot. There's never been a time that has ever happened for me, and I'm sure it's not been too often that it's happened for you. Not only that, it's like each category tells you where the filmmaker is from, where the content is from, so you really know, like, okay, this is stories from South Africa. These are stories from, you know, Barbados. There's stories from Trinidad. There's so much black diaspora in here. It's like an overload. It makes me feel like I've just got the power of my HBCU back in my household, like with me. I feel so seen, I feel so represented, and I love it. And let me tell you, the coolest part about KweliTV is that 60% of your subscription fee goes right directly back to the creator. So making a decision to support Kweli is literally a decision to support black content creators. Giving them that money helps them fund these stories, helps them bring more of these stories to light, and I guarantee you, you will love it. But don't just listen to me. KweliTV offers a 7-day trial, so it's literally no risk to just logging on. And I tell you, if you even find one thing that you like on there, which you're going to find a lot of them, but if you at least find one, I really urge you to just go ahead and get that monthly subscription. It's only a low price of $5.99, so it's priced lower than other streaming platforms that you're already paying for, and I say it's a really good investment. So log on to that free trial and check it out. KweliTV is dope. Follow them on IG. Alright, so that was so great learning about KweliTV, but I have one more platform in store for you, and it's called Blossom. Blossom TV is a streaming platform created for and by women of color. Diamond Williamson, the founder and CEO, launched her platform in 2016 when she noticed that black women were amongst the top streamers. As a content creator who felt the pressure of not being able to easily find platforms for her content, she created a platform specifically to fill that need. Blossom TV also directly invests in the creators by helping them find sponsors and resources to fund their production costs. So supporting this platform is literally a choice to support women content creators from around the nation. Okay, so let's go ahead and review Blossom. So when I first log on, I'm immediately greeted with the same familiar display that I'm used to, spotlighted content right at the top to let me know what I can expect from this platform. Overall, the appearance, it really looks great. The display looks pretty good. And I'll say it's very empowering to log on and see nothing but women. I mean, there are a couple of men in the thumbnails, but mostly what you see is women of color, mainly black women, represented on these platforms because they are the ones creating the stories. Right off the rip, I realized that this was not as accessible as KweliTV, meaning it's not as accessible as Netflix or Hulu either. There is no way to directly cast from the app. In fact, I was not even able to download the app because it said it was not available in my country. So that's a definite con for me as far as trying to implement this as my new streaming platform of choice. I like accessibility. I like being able to watch any film anywhere, and without that accessibility, that's a definite con for me. Blossom TV has a lot of variety, but they really lean towards unscripted content, which usually is not something that I like. I do enjoy a bit of reality TV, but these are more like talk shows and things like that. So I really wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it. But there is a lot of variety there. A lot of the content is really short though, maybe like under 15 minutes. So that's something that, you know, you should evaluate as well. Okay, So final thoughts on Blossom. I really didn't know what to expect for this. I typically don't lean into unscripted content like that. I really like scripted content. I really like film. So Kweli would have been something that I really implement into my life. That's going to be a mainstay. But as far as Blossom, I really like the content. And, you know, once I really gave it a chance, I found stuff that was so relatable to me. Even a show like Melanin Mamas, a show where two women talk about the struggles of being a black woman and being a mother. You know, I don't have children, but it was so cool and so relatable, as though my two homegirls who just had kids were just telling me this is what it is and this is what it's not. So I really enjoyed that. The downside to me about Blossom is that it lacks accessibility and that the shows are really short. Like, I really feel like there needs to be more variety. So what's missing from this platform really is you. You can invest in this platform by investing your content, investing, you know, or giving your feedback. Anything you can do to like improve this. Blossom is super affordable. It's only $2.99 per month, which is probably way cheaper than any other platform you're already using. Also, they're very generous in giving you a 30-day free trial, so there's literally no risk, minimal risk to just trying this out. Being a good black consumer is also about giving your feedback. So just try it out, see what you can do. And if you can't invest your money in it per month, maybe you already have content. Maybe you know a woman of color content creator. What's really missing from this platform is you. You really need to increase the visibility and awareness. And then maybe when you do, then the CEO will decide to make some changes so that we can consume this content more regularly and implement it into our regular lives. So I will say Blossom has some great potential, but what's missing from it is your contribution. So don't forget to do that. So guys, I'm so glad I could bring these two new streaming platforms into your lives. I know we don't often think about supporting black creators as part of supporting black business, but it is so important. Our creators are our historians. They archive our feelings, our experiences for generations to come. So it's so important for us to protect them and nurture them. I just want to briefly get into a story about me as a creator. I decided to leave North Carolina A&T, the School of Engineering, in 2012. I came back to Brooklyn to be a creator. I wanted to be a filmmaker and make television shows and really have my voice heard. Unfortunately, in film school, I was beat down and pretty much told, you're going to be nothing but a PA. Then I got into the industry and I was nothing more than a PA. And I really felt so beat down because I wanted to produce content and everybody was telling me that I could not, that I was not worthy, that I was not experienced, that I didn't have the internships or the education that they felt like, or even the validation of someone else who said, yeah, she can do it. But it was my community, the community who put into me. People like Simeon Coker and Kai Lawson at Mixed Company who saw the talent in me and allowed me to produce content for them that they posted. Someone like Empress Vernado, who ran BB Digital and saw, hey, you're a great videographer. Why don't you come and help me produce content? Someone like Tyreek Smith at Cold Switch Productions, who saw what I was doing at Nacho Typical News and was like, hey, I love this content, but I can give me the opportunity to make it a little bit better. And someone like Dominique Valtz, who I'm wearing her hoodie right now, who allowed me to executive produce a series without even knowing if I was capable, but just believing that I could. And we did. So I just want to say it's so important for us to nurture these ideas of community. We really need to reach out and touch each other. Whether you're a creator, whether you work in medicine, whether you work in HR, whether you work in legal, we need you. There's no such thing as a small act. If you have any resources to help the next black person, you should give them, because if they didn't put into me, if my community did not put into me, I would not be here to put into y'all. So thank you so much for joining me. I just want to reiterate that it's so important for you to reach out and grab a hand. In this revolution, we really need to stick together. And the only way through this is literally together. So thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Natural Typical Reviews. I'm your host, Bengali Black, and I'm going to check you later.